the biggest thing this week especially is that it's almost the end of summer anime. Like, a lot of things have already ended or are about to end. So there's, like, one episode left for a lot of things or something got delayed.
Which makes me so sad.
We're saying goodbye.
I know.
Yeah, this is always the hardest time of, like, anime season, especially once you've kind of grown attached to these shows and you're like, oh. Especially for the two queer shows that are finally ending, such as Ore Monogatari and Food Wars.
I honestly have been putting off finishing that show because I don't want to finish it. So I
don't want it to end.
My Love Story.
Yeah.
I watched an episode last night and I just was like, I was sad knowing it was going to end, so I just took a break. I just couldn't do it.
Oh my gosh.
I don't want to finish that one. So I'm a little behind on that one because I don't want to finish it.
Yeah.
So good.
What I really want to jump into now, like, even though some of these shows aren't over, like, you can kind of get a feel for how they're going to end. Like, they're not going to drastically change so much that they wouldn't change your entire opinion of the show.
Right.
What were your guys' favorite shows? Like, maybe not objectively the best, but, like, what really stuck with you this season? Like, maybe, like, your favorite 2 or 3?
My favorite's probably Food Wars.
Yeah.
I really love Food Wars. Food Wars is the one where, like, because it airs on Fridays, like, I will go home and that's the first thing I do is watch Food Wars. Whereas some of the other ones, I'll be like, I could wait a day, you know, like, I don't have to watch it as soon if I'm busy or something. But Food Wars, I would, like, drop everything to watch. I love that show.
So I have to agree. Like, Food Wars is absolutely my favorite from the past 2 seasons, and I'm happy we finally get some more of it. Like, we have one more episode this week. I don't know how they're going to end this. I'm hoping for another season, which we'll talk about later.
Yep.
But Food Wars, like, has also very much kicked up the ecchi this season, or at the end, towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
And they've also...
Oh, that Nikumi where...
Yep. Nikumi bounce. Let's leave it at that.
Yep.
It was so good.
Yeah. I made a Dan Nikumi your Bobbies joke on Twitter.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah. Which told me everything I needed to know about that episode.
So
Yeah,
if you haven't seen my terrible meme joke about Food Wars, it's on Twitter.
Also, like, they've gone really personal with every individual character. I think the first part of a season, like last season, was more about Soma and, like, his journey and him and his father, whereas this season they've kind of highlighted more on the support characters and how he kind of is there. Like, Megumi has gotten so much time.
I love
and it's
her.
amazing. And I just, like, really appreciate that. Like, they're kind of digging into the characters.
Yeah.
I mean, that also is just a matter of, like, how it takes to, like, develop something. First, of course, you want to focus on your main character, but it's just, like, interesting how willing they are to put someone in the back burner in order to give other people time. See what I did there? Food Wars.
Food jokes.
But I mean, this season has been fantastic, and I'm super excited for the last episode. I gotta go buy all the manga now, so you know.
I really want to read the manga now. I really like Food Wars. And then another food one I like is Wakakozake.
Yeah, was that one of your favorites of the season, or just like a?
I would call it one of my favorites because I would finish watching that show and just be filled with joy for like the next several hours. Like that show just lit up my day.
I literally would be smiling at the end of every episode.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an episode where I was like, meh. I was like, every time I was like, I love this show.
Yeah,
It's
and
just
also
a little bite-sized 2-minute anime about just, boom.
It's easy to swallow.
It sure is. It's this delicious little anime.
God.
Okay, I'm going to shut up. But yeah, and that also ended on a really sweet note.
Yeah.
Don't tell me I haven't
I'm not gonna tell you that. I'm just gonna tell you that it's
4-minute
satisfying. It's like Himoto Umaru-chan is my favorite of the season, and I like the way that it ended. It was just a really nice, happy note about friendship, and Umaru is still a horrible, awful trash monster. But it's funny that it was my least favorite when I first started. I literally could not get through the first 10 minutes of the episode. One, because she was such a pile of garbage, and now it's like my absolute favorite.
Yeah.
And now I appreciate her genius.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of my favorites too.
Like, what charmed you about it? Like, I mean, you just said like how you hated it. So
I think
what kept you going? Like, why did you keep watching if you hated it so
at
much?
first because Callie kept saying that it gets better, so I was like, I trust your guys' opinion about anime, so I'm gonna give it a go. So I grit my teeth through the rest of the episode, and then what I realized, to my utter dismay, is that Umaru is me.
She's a trash monster inside of us all.
She's a trash monster inside of us all, and I love the fact that she's like, I'm gonna laze about and eat potato chips and drink soda and watch anime and read manga and play video games. I'm like,
same.
That's me.
She's been a bad influence on me. Like I've been eating lots of snacks.
Oh, we've been terrible at our desks. Like every time I watch Mario, I'd be like, I really need to go to the vending machine right now.
Yeah. Oh,
Megan, my chocolates.
Megan and I sit next to each other, and I'll just like I'll get up and be like, I'm going to the vending machine. You want anything?
I shouldn't, but it's what Umaru would want.
So there's sour cream and onion chips in there today.
There is, and you're just like, oh my gosh.
Those are the best.
Yeah, oh my god, they're the worst for you, but they taste.
I'm like gonna cry thinking about them. I love those chips.
I know, but I just love in this past episode, she wants her brother to get a van so that she can just sleep in the back, literally flatten out all the seats, get her mat and her pillow and everything, and just conk out, so she never has to get up and actually do anything. It's like the ultimate sloth.
She's my favorite kind of lazy, where you'll put in a lot of effort to put in less effort later.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, my dad's like this because my dad is an engineer, and so he'll do stuff where he'll work really hard on making the universal remote work just so the TV is marginally easier to use later.
Yeah.
And so I feel like Umaru's the easiest solution to being able to be lazy is buying a car.
Is buying a giant van where I don't have to sit up straight or walk to school. I can literally just sleep on my way in. And she has this whole imagination thing where they go to the beach and she's still in the van, and then we go to the mountains and she's still in the van, just slugging it, slugging it up.
Yeah,
and
her
I'm
brother just leaves, and it's no, I'm fine in the van. It's okay.
Yeah, it's amazing, and she inspires me to be lazy, having the cooler full of ice cream and soda and stuff.
But she had to go out and buy that cooler. I love the foresight that's implied in these episodes where it's just she plans really hard to be lazy.
She's smart. She's not. And we see that in her everyday life at school too. She has that other personality.
A+.
She's not stupid.
She's
she's not stupid. She's really smart at being lazy.
She's also earned that laziness. She's
gets good grades.
Top of her grade. Yeah.
Helps people out, very friendly to people, plays sports, really good at that.
And she also genuinely cares about people even when she's in her Umaru state, her true self. And that's one thing I also appreciate is that we saw her grow. Even though you didn't really expect it much from the show, because it's just everyday slice of life, this lazy kid. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely, she does have some more care for her brother, who's taking her in, and they're living together, and he's just
and also
help
her friends. I love how her friendships develop through her multiple sort of personalities.
Yeah, and how her friends affect her. I forget who said it, but she wanted that kind of steak. And her brother made it for her lunch, and then Ibina or someone was like, she's like, that's so hard to make. I'm so impressed. And then she kind of realizes, wow, my brother puts a lot of effort into my food, and she kind of, I guess, gained some sympathy for him. I liked seeing stuff like that where she just they're these little gems of insight that she gets.
Yeah,
where she's like, oh, he's working hard.
That those didn't feel forced.
Yeah.
It just felt like a very natural progression. They just fit in with all the other little mini-sodes in the episode. They just meshed really well, and they had a lot of smart planning, and also, of course, it ended on a very good note. For an open-ended show like that, it's hard to feel satisfied, but they made me feel super satisfied by the end.
Yeah.
I can leave them now. I don't want to, but I'm happy to.
Yeah, and they did a beach episode properly.
Yes, which is really awesome, because now we can be look, this is how you can do a beach episode. You get the girls still in the cute bikinis, but it's not gross and exploitive. It's actually really well done.
Yeah.
So minor spoilers for the finale, I guess. I mean, this show is just people living life.
Yeah, it's not a spoilery show.
I mean, it's spoilers, but we're just kind of talking about it just a little bit if you guys just haven't seen it yet. But so you know.
Yeah.
Skip a few minutes or whatever. Anyway, so last episode, they go to the beach. But they go to the beach town first, which is cool because they say, hey, the beach isn't just this one strip of land in the ocean. There's cool things to do around there.
There's
they get
restaurants.
They get specialty restaurants, and
they get souvenirs, which is really fun.
Yeah,
yeah. We don't get the close-ups on body parts where. In the School Live kind of beachy episode, they're talking, but the focus is on their breasts.
But it actually looks like their breasts are talking.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it isn't they're moving in the weird way, but they actually are moving in a weird way. For breasts. It's just not hey, here's a shot of our chests while we talk, as opposed to being on our faces where you normally angle something.
Right.
It's very deliberate when you do that. It's well, all right.
It's very obvious.
Umaru-chan didn't do, which is really nice.
Right. It was, you could still appreciate the bikinis if that's something that you're into. totally cool, but it was like when they were speaking, it was focused on the fact that they were speaking. It wasn't focused on their bodies.
Respectful to the characters.
Yeah. When they were playing the water, it wasn't like bring. I mean, it was a little bit. It was like cute as opposed to.
It was just like fun. It wasn't like, hey, look at this butt shot. You know.
Yeah.
Like,
and I like the way they went into the water, the way they animated it. Like, you know, when you really jump in the ocean, you have to kind of do that awkward bow-legged thing.
Yeah.
Fight the force of the water, and they actually animated that, and I noticed that. I was like, no one ever does that. They just usually just go gliding and prancing into the water, and in this case, you can tell the girls are actually just having fun.
Yeah, it's very respectful to the characters, and you can still admire how they look too. Like that's
because they all looked super cute.
Best of both worlds. They did look super cute.
They look super cute. So guys can admire them, women can admire them, and no one feels awkward.
Yeah.
Another show I really liked and I think ended pretty well was My Love Story. I'm behind.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about it too much because I know you guys are behind. But just to point it out, I think it was one of the better shows of this year as well.
Yeah, so good.
It's an amazing romance. Like if you haven't seen it, I know like people are like, oh, it's a romance like
but
shoujo
it's so
thing.
well done.
But it takes like a more realistic approach and it just feels like better. And it's balanced really well with the comedy too. So it's not like you're getting too overwhelmed with like mushy-gushy romance stuff.
Yeah.
And the ending, like I'll just say, it's just like very satisfying. Like I'm happy with where it ended, but I wish like I could absolutely have more. And that's what the manga's for, you know. Like they can't animate everything, and the fact that it got 2 cur is like great in its own.
Yeah.
But I'm just very happy.
Yeah, I'm glad. I like things that end on a feel-good note. Like you don't walk away angry or disappointed. You're just kind of like, good. That was a good place to end it.
It was definitely another one of those shows that I was worried about. Like, how are they going to wrap this up? Like, there's so many ways you could do it, but you could also do it really poorly.
Yeah.
I guess the final show, maybe, unless you guys have anything else to talk about, but I think this is the last one, is School Live.
Yes. So I wanted to talk about Charlotte too, but School Live definitely because we're also on both the last episodes.
Yeah. We can talk about School Live a little bit more in another section because we have tiers of things we want to talk about. But School Live is one of our favorites, and then you said Charlotte, which is not one of my favorites.
It's back and forth with me a little bit because it has pacing issues and tonal issues, but ultimately I was able to watch the entire show and be pretty satisfied with it. I think the only thing is that I'm not sure how they're going to end it because they kind of opened the door for a lot more episodes. So I'm curious to know if they're going to try to button it somehow or if it's like, hey, we're going to announce season 2. So I'm not totally sure, but I actually ended up liking Charlotte. I like the premise of kids with flawed powers, trying to hide from adults who would exploit those powers.
Right.
So I think it did, for the most part, a lot of things right. So yeah, I think it's fair to say it's one of my favorites.
Cool.
Awesome.
So let us know in the comments or Twitter, wherever you want. What were your favorites of the season?